Antonio Gramsci's concepts, particularly hegemony, civil society, cultural power, and the organic intellectual, became the theoretical backbone of cultural studies as developed by researchers at the Birmingham Centre for Contemporary Cultural Studies, CCCS, starting in the 1960s. The Birmingham School's most important contribution was to expand Gramsci's ideas beyond class-based analysis and apply them to other identity categories such as race, gender, subcultures, and youth. In doing so, they reimagined culture as a dynamic site of resistance rather than merely a tool of domination. 1. Rethinking hegemony. CCCS scholars like Stuart Hall, Richard Johnson, and Paul Willis placed Gramsci's concept of hegemony at the center of cultural analysis. For Gramsci, hegemony operates not only through coercion but also through consent. Birmingham researchers explored how this consent is internalized through media, popular culture, and everyday experiences. Example: Stuart Hall analyzed how television broadcasts, news discourse, and popular cultural products both reproduce hegemonic ideologies and create limited spaces for resistance. His influential work, Encoding, Decoding, 1980, remains a foundational text in cultural theory. 2. Counter-hegemony and subcultures. Paul Willis and Dick Hebdige adapted Gramsci's theory of counter-hegemony to analyze youth subcultures. They argued that subcultures, such as punks, skinheads, and mods, develop symbolic forms of resistance against dominant norms. However, this resistance is often absorbed and neutralized by the system through a process known as incorporation. Example: Hebdige's seminal work Subculture, The Meaning of Style, 1979, uses Gramscian theory to decode the style and symbolism of subcultures as forms of resistance within a hegemonic order. 3. The role of civil society, education and media. The Birmingham School deepened Gramsci's understanding of civil society by applying it to institutions such as education and media. They argued that schools and media are not neutral transmitters of knowledge but ideological apparatuses that reproduce dominant ideologies. Example: Paul Willis's ethnographic study Learning to Labor, 1977, investigates how working-class boys come to accept their future as manual laborers, while at the same time developing cultural forms of resistance, a clear manifestation of Gramsci's theory in practice. 4. The organic intellectual. Birmingham researchers embraced Gramsci's notion of the organic intellectual, arguing that academics should not merely analyze society, but actively participate in social transformation. The CCCS positioned itself as a space for counter-hegemonic knowledge production, one that aimed to challenge dominant ideologies from within cultural institutions. Example: Stuart Hall's lecture Cultural Studies and Its Theoretical Legacies, 1992, presents a powerful interpretation of Gramsci's intellectual model and reaffirms the scholar's role in political and cultural change. 5. Expanding hegemony to identity and race. Stuart Hall extended Gramsci's class-based analysis to include race, ethnicity, and identity politics. He examined how racial ideologies are embedded within the cultural experiences of immigrant communities in Britain and how these groups navigate and challenge racialized hegemonies. Example: In The Whites of Their Eyes, Racist Ideologies and the Media, 1981, Hall demonstrates how media reproduces racial stereotypes in ways that reinforce hegemonic worldviews, an application of Gramsci's theory to race and media studies. Conclusion: Gramsci's legacy within the Birmingham School. Gramsci's influence on the Birmingham School was transformative. His theories helped redefine cultural analysis by showing how ideology is woven into the very fabric of daily life, from classrooms and TV screens to street styles and family structures. By reinterpreting hegemony, CCCS scholars revealed how culture is both a medium of domination and a potential site of resistance. They showed that hegemony could be negotiated through youth movements, subcultures, identity politics, and education systems. They did not simply adopt Gramsci's concepts, they expanded them, bringing them into dialogue with race, gender, and post-colonial theory. In doing so, they turned cultural studies into a politically engaged field that challenged the status quo both intellectually and institutionally. Gramsci's ideas were not confined to the struggles of early 20th century Italy. Through the work of the Birmingham School, they became essential tools for understanding power, culture, and resistance in the modern world.